Welcome to episode number 2. In this episode, I talked to Marge Aviso, CEO and founder of Telework.PH, one of the fastest growing BPOs in the country. Marge's situation prior to starting her company is one that is common in the Philippines, being a single mom. She got pregnant in her 20s and had no one to turn to. She had to dig deep in herself and find a way to provide for her family alone. Through sheer determination, an exceptional work ethic, and savvy financial foresight, she was able to build a company that provides value to her clients and to her employees. In this episode, we talk about some of the hardships she had to overcome when she got pregnant and how this shaped her character and how it built confidence in her abilities. We also talk about some of the most impactful training and seminars she attended that gave her the right frame of mind to be strong as a leader. We touch on the different ways that you can fund your business and how she funded hers, the value of knowing your worth and never settling for what's easy or readily available. Finally, we talked about what it means to go all in and risk everything for your business and for your future, for your dreams, for your family, and for yourself. Enjoy, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to start recording now. All right. So, Marge, thank you so much for accepting my invite and joining me here today. I'm so excited to have you here to talk about how you started your entrepreneurial journey. For the benefit of the listeners, I just want to start by sharing some numbers about your company, Telework.PH, if that's okay. So I got this off the website. Here it goes. So started with 2 employees back in 2013 or somewhere around 2013 to 2015. Grew to 450 plus by January 2020. Transitioned from 100% work from home back in 2013, where everyone was just doing their own thing in their own homes and working with your respective clients, to now having 4 sites across the Philippines. In 2019, you were featured in Asia Business Headlines as one of the top 10 fastest growing virtual assistant providers to watch in 2019. And finally, you were recently featured by Searchworks.PH for your company's performance in 2020, where you generated an eye-popping 100 million in revenue. So that's absolutely incredible, your journey so far. So Marge, I think it's an understatement that you made the right choice, the right decision to become an entrepreneur. So my first question, describe for us what you and your life were like prior to making the decision to take the leap and become an entrepreneur.
Well, John, thank you so much for having me here, first of all. And I just want to clarify as well that the 4 sites there are not entirely spread in the Philippines. It's just in Bulacan. So
okay.
Yeah, we just happen to have several different offices for each account. I think it helped during the pandemic because then we'll have borders. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, you know what? Wow, to be honest, I'm still in disbelief with what had happened. I never really intended to become at this rate of success, if you may call it. But initially and prior to having my business, I was a freelancer. That's the nearest. I was a virtual assistant to be specific, and I was I was earning so well that I didn't even think about really starting a business, because all I really wanted was to have an income for my family and be able to travel and be able to buy whatever I want. And I was I came to a point where there's just something else that I needed to do. I felt like perhaps I'm already at that really satisfied level of my life that I feel is still incomplete, if that makes sense. And but prior to becoming a virtual assistant, I was a nurse, and I also have worked in the BPO industry, but only stayed there for about 2 years. I started working as a customer service representative, and then got promoted to becoming a fraud analyst. And then after 6 months, I became a technical support analyst for the same account. but eventually after that, after 6 more months, I decided to stay at home and be with my family. I really just wanted to be with my family. That's it.
Yeah, sounds like you got the entrepreneurial bug, right? Like for me, personally, I just felt like one of the things that I read, like I think it was Robert Kiyosaki who wrote that if you're working in an office for 9 hours a day, you're really working hard, and you get promoted, you go up the ranks, and your the work that you put in, the 9 hours that you put in, or sometimes a lot of times even more than 9 hours, is
Yeah.
actually going towards building someone else's dream, right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
and versus having to spend that same amount of time building your own dream. So it sounds like
Mhm.
um, something similar happened to you during that time where you're working.
That's true. And I can clearly remember this quote, or this photo that I saw on Quora. It said that if a man is, is given something that could sustain his living, like, give him money, give him love, give him affection, give him everything that a man needs, I guarantee you that that person's gonna throw off his dream right out of the window. What happened with me is I had to experience a bottom rock moment in my life where, at the age of 20 years old, I got pregnant. I was in the middle of a nursing review. And my mother denied me of living in our house, so I had to stay with my
Oh
boyfriend.
wow.
Yeah. And after that, so I had to do the review by myself. I had to pass the licensure exam by myself. I can remember I was in the bus and I was 3 months pregnant, and I was carrying this 2 kilograms of rice all by myself without having a companion. And I didn't have any money. I asked money from my siblings. They gave me 10,000 pesos a month just to bear, just to get by, because I need to, of course, buy medicine, buy vitamins for, and have myself checked up, because my boyfriend at the time is what, 18 years old. We were so young, and I was like I said, I was in our previous conversation earlier today.
Right.
I would say I'm the type of, a rebel type, and would really want to explore world out there. And it's there's more to really studying, there's more to exploring, there's more to life than there is. And I had to experience that at the age of 20 years old. And at that time, because we were so young, we didn't have any experience, and my boyfriend at the time didn't have any job, so I had to experience raising a kid without without the necessary means, and be leaving home, just to work in the BPO to sustain, my family. And we didn't have a really good relationship at the time, and eventually we broke up after 7 years.
Oh wow. Unfortunately, here in the Philippines and maybe even in other parts of the world, that story is really very common, right? There's a lot of people who go through the same thing, and even to this day, maybe wondering like what could they do, what should they do to bring themselves, their family, their kid out of the situation that they're in. And that's exactly, honestly, that's exactly why we're here today to inspire those people and give them a sense of confidence, and maybe inspire them through the journey that we've taken, for them to be able to take their own journey,
Mm.
and hopefully be able to accomplish what you've accomplished in the last few years, which is really inspiring, I have to say. Um, so so you were working in a BPO, and then did you quit right away when you decided to start the business? So like, let me rephrase that. What were the mental or emotional roadblocks that you had to overcome before you were able to make the decision to really follow your own path?
Wow, I would say it wasn't really easy. Like, I didn't know, literally, I didn't, figuratively and literally, I didn't know how to go about it and where to start. I mean, I think that's very common for anyone. It's
Yeah.
very, very important that you gain clarity of what you really wanted to do in the what really is the reason you're living, if that makes sense. So for me, it took me about what from 2013 that I was interested to build a team. I've been just dreaming and dreaming and dreaming of having my own company. And it wasn't until 2018. So you can imagine, like, what, from 2015 to 2018, 3 years in the making, 3 years of really, is this for me? 3 years of taking that leap, and 3 years of finding the clarity. Where do I get the money to start? Where do I, what do I need to do? What do I need to learn to become a successful entrepreneur? And all those times I've just been watching videos of businesses, successful businesses, and reading a lot of books. And one of the things that opened me into it is, yeah, one is Robert Kiyosaki, another is Harv Eker. And the very first thing um, that I overcame is the limiting beliefs in terms of money. And I can remember, to be specific, I was I I was very, very happy with earning 50,000 pesos a month, to be honest, because I wasn't able to earn that in the BPO. And I was able to earn that when I became a virtual assistant. So I said, wow, yeah, this is true. I mean, it's happening. I can feel it. Now, when I learned about, the law of attraction, which is also from The Secret, a book from The Secret, they said, you just have to put in the actual number, the actual money that you wanted to have, in print out a check, a blank check, and then just write out the number that you wanted to get, the money you wanted to get. So I wrote down 100,000 pesos out of nothing. I mean, I just wanted to do it. Maybe it's working, maybe it's going to be effective, and then I left it out. I had it, I just left there. And lo and behold, I was able to get my first 100,000, I believe, in 2 or 3 months after doing that. And until now, I'm getting goosebumps. I started to believe that it really, really works. The law of attraction really, really works. You just have to be able to know what you have to put into your mind to make it happen. It's like, you're casting the energies back to the world. And those are the things that I had to learn. I have to also emotionally overcome the what happened with my previous relationship, because while my son is with me, he's verbally saying, I miss my dad, I miss my dad, I miss the old times when we were together. And it hurts me a lot. And I've used both of them, mental and emotional, limitations, and the things that I've learned from my experience to become a better person. And I'm very glad that I was given that chance, because otherwise I could have I would have found myself in a jail or something.
Well, I'm glad too. Honestly, I'm really glad that you're here today and that you made the decisions that you made, because otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation, and people wouldn't see that it's possible, right? Like I remember my own experience in the BPO world, and you mentioned 50,000 was really something that you're very appreciative of. I stopped. I dropped out of college when I was 18 years old and joined the BPO just because I didn't have any more funds. We didn't have both my parents were pastors, and so at the time they were businessmen, and then they became pastors eventually. And at that point in my life, I didn't really have any funds. I was pretty independent, and I didn't have enough money to continue, so I worked in the BPO. And my salary was actually 14,000. I was super happy to be earning 14,000 a month, and so I understand. I mean, I've experienced exactly what you experienced, and it sounds like, based on what you've said, it's not so much a leap as it is like a grind, right? Like a 3-year grind to be able to have the confidence and have the the strength, I guess, to
Yeah.
really overcome those mental or emotional roadblocks.
Right. Yeah.
And it seems like so I've heard of Harv Eker. I know he wrote a book, but I've also attended the Millionaire Mind Intensives. Was that something that you're able to join too?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff, right?
Yeah.
Really life changing. And
Very true.
actually, asked my wife to join this or last year, 2020, but because of the pandemic, I think it's canceled. But definitely recommend that to everyone who is going through something like this, right? Like
Mhm.
you know, very powerful. It will, like you said, it really helps you put into perspective what are those beliefs that. Oh hi, hello there, hi
Say
baby,
hi.
hi. Yeah, so cute. So yeah, it puts into perspective and allows you to identify. Number one, identify because if you can't identify, it's really hard to overcome. And then overcome those limiting beliefs. Yeah. Um, okay, so you were able to get through these roadblocks. Um, and the at that point, like the first day, like what do you still remember that day where you were able to say that these roadblocks are gone? This is the first day in my life where all of those roadblocks that I had before, mental or emotional, are no longer here. Do you still remember that day? And could you describe what it felt like and how you were able to finally um, go forward?
To be honest, I don't. I don't remember but what I can remember is I've been through that a lot of times and then I just forget. I mean, I think it's something that you need to continuously practice and make it a habit to, because it's very easy to say, think positive about it, but when you're faced with challenges you feel like, oh, what am I getting into? Why did I get myself into this? And why do I even have to sacrifice all these things? And why do I even have to experience all these things? I mean, I've asked that a lot of times, and I can I've I can clearly remember my other co-founders would say, I didn't know in the beginning that we were feeling the same thing, but when we came into a conversation they said, you know what, I could have just put up like a car wash or a hot dog stand instead of a BPO. Why did we get into ourselves into this kind of business? It's so complex. It's so but anyway, so one of the things that really helped me a lot is I took this seminar. It's called Purposeful Leadership Seminar. So it's supposedly to help you develop your personal, personality and your leadership skills, and how you can bring out the best in you. Essentially, that's how it is. I had to take it 3 times,
Wow,
three
big time.
times for it to sink in, because I know the concepts, I know those things, but when I go through each session, it's beyond those principles. It's beyond those concepts. Like for instance, um, they define success as being able to have a peace of mind. In the beginning, yeah, it sounds okay, but when you experience it yourself, when you become that person that you don't have to think about, where do I get my money to pay the bills next time? Where do I get the money to pay for the tuition of my kids? For me, that's already success. And now it's making more sense to me. So that's one of the things that really helped me a lot um, with
So
my journey.
so it looks like this seminar purposeful leadership, right? Like
Mhm.
you had to take it 3 times, and obviously you took it the first time, and you felt like you needed more. You needed to experience it again so that you could
Yeah,
like be able to put these things into practice.
yeah.
And obviously the third time is probably the easiest, where you're already. Um, I assume you're at that point where you're validating all of the things you've already learned the past 2 times and seeing if it's already happening in your life, right?
Mhm.
So is that accurate? And the follow-up question to that is, what are the maybe top one or two or three key takeaways that you got from that seminar?
Wow. Top three takeaways. So number one, how do you deal with how do you communication? How do you communicate with a person who is resistant? So it taught me how to reach out and how to break down the barriers with people who are really resistant. Say for example, in a team and you came in as a newbie, and because you are a newbie manager, you have to be able to get a whole, get them together to work into one goal. But then these people, because you are new, they're not cooperative. So one of the things that they taught me is to be able to really, really understand how people work and what's their motive, how are you going to make them work with you, not against you. And that's one. And then in an argument, the first, instead of saying you did this, you did that, you did, these things, it's because it's your fault. Instead of pointing to that person, you want to acknowledge it yourself, like, I got hurt because you did this. I got hurt about what happened. I got intimidated by what happened, and it's coming off as a first person statement rather than blaming someone else. So yeah, that's huge for me. I mean,
instead
I've
of
learned.
um instead of taking the situation and the stress and all the problems and blasting it outwards to everyone, you're um, kind of taking responsibility
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then
That's
and
exactly
presenting it in that way. Got it.
right. Taking responsibility and taking accountability as well.
Right. Got it.
It's really helped me a lot now as a CEO, because everyone in my organization felt like they have to do it, or at some point, when they realize that, oh, why does my CEO how to do this, this is actually my job, let me take that off her plate, something like that, because they can see that, even if I know someone else should be doing this job, that person is underneath me, I should be taking responsibility of it. But of course, as leaders, you have to make sure that you're delegating it properly, and that's another story. And then the
Yeah.
third one, the third one that I learned from that, it's really about your belief about yourself. A lot of times I've been saying, maybe this is not this. Maybe this is what other people think about me. I've been very conscious my life about what people think about me, and I realized nobody cares, really nobody cares. If whatever you do in your life, it's you. You have to take control and you have to believe in yourself first. So, and I remember when they when they asked me, how did you learn that you are a CEO? Because when you're starting an organization, there's just like what, three people or four people in your team, and you call yourself a CEO. And I told them, you gotta believe yourself first. And so even if I felt like, really, is that title for me? No, I put that on my signature every single day, and I believe that I'm going to be a CEO.
That's absolutely awesome. That's really really awesome. And I've heard some people. I forgot exactly who said it, but it's one of those like folks that give inspirational speeches, one of those leaders. And he said, "What others think about you is really none of your business." Right?
Yes.
So the way I took that is I really have to focus on myself, right? Really focus on what I need to improve, really focus on helping myself reach my full potential. And if I do that, then it helps me become a better leader and help me become a better influence to other people. And the fact that I'm focusing on myself also inspires others to do the same, right?
That's
And if
true.
we're all focusing on us meeting our full potential and really getting to the best version of ourselves, I feel like that's just going to make the world a much better place, right? Not just in a company, but anywhere really.
That's true.
Uh,
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it just came into my mind. I was talking with my mastermind group, and I told them about how, if you know yourself so well, if you know your values so well, you can use that as a leverage. You can use that to leverage your leaderships. Like for example, I am a very I value privacy a lot, and one of those things is, I want to be able to give space to people, and that makes them, more independent. That gives them a feeling that they can rely on themselves, that I trust them, that, things like that. And if you really know the ins and outs of yourselves, then it's going to be definitely helpful. I think that's everything, that's the very first thing that any entrepreneur wanted to do, or I mean need to do, so you can become more successful.
Yeah. So knowing yourself is one, and also empowering the people around you so that they also take that step towards, you know, um, getting to know themselves and maximizing their potential. Right.
Yes.
Got it. Um, yeah. So just going back a little bit towards the journey that you had. So you were able to overcome your mental fears, or mental roadblocks, emotional roadblocks. So I think the next question for our listeners, if I think the most common question that would probably get asked is, what was your approach to addressing the financial roadblocks that are almost always present when starting a new venture, and especially for those that have zero experience?
Wow, that's when I started, I really, like I said, I didn't know where to get the money. I didn't know how to start. And then I remember a person that I reached out to help me with starting my BPO back then. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us right now. But she told me one thing: ang pera nasa bulsa lang ng ibang tao. Humanap ka ng paraan para makuha yon sa legal na paraan. Siyempre, hindi yung magnanakaw ka. And that's very true. Look, if you notice, companies right now are going IPO. Yung mga, they had really difficult time in 2020, and now their way of recovering is to find investors, right? So right now they went public so that people can invest in them. It's called OPM, using other people's money to grow their
Yep.
business, right? And it's very, very true. And I remember, and this is very specific example in our company. The admin team is a cost center. So I told them we're cost cutting. I need you guys to be really creative at saving, or perhaps generating your own funds for your department. And so the admin head went to me and said, I'm going to put up a sari store, and we are going to ask our agents and our employees to buy from us, because this is going to be an admin fund. It will help sustain,
Oh,
yeah, it will help sustain the what tissue rolls, the soaps and the liquid liquid soaps, and disinfectant and all that. So I was
so
really happy about.
the in-office cafeteria is actually generating income back for the company, back to the admin cost. Is that what it is?
So we remember, we just moved to a different office, so we don't
Right.
have a cafeteria yet. We don't have a
Okay.
pantry yet. So our admin team is putting up like a sari store, and then of course some, they can buy food from there. They made business out of of it essentially, and then use that to, as their funds for their department. And I was really happy about it. I mean, they're a cost center, and so if now that they're generating their own funds, I was really happy about it. But yeah, so first, really, it's I this is so true, and I mean, it sounds like what exactly is that term? But yeah, it sounds so
Cliche.
cliche. Yeah, cliche,
Okay.
that people would say, money problems is always going to start here. in your mindset. I'll tell you as a very specific example. Why are lottery winners, after winning a lot of money, they end up bankrupt, or even,
Yep.
people in the sports
Yep.
industry, very, very popular? It's because in the very first place, when they had the problems they had were not solved by having lots of money. It was solved because here they can't find ways to grow money, they can't find ways to handle money, they can't find ways to replicate that. And I think it's very important that you know how to financially, how you can manage your funds, how you can. And for me, I just know how to do personal budgeting, and I had to learn cash flow management in business, business finance. That's another story, but it pays a lot if you have the knowledge. It pays a lot that you have trained your mind to grow it, to grow your funds. As for me, well, I worked as a virtual assistant. I kept saving that money, and so when I needed to put up a physical facility, I have something to pull from my pocket. So I didn't have to borrow money from other people, because when you here's another thing: if you are going into business and you borrowed money, it's going to pressure you to grow it. And the very first few stages of of putting up a business is where you learn. So it's not the growth stage yet, it's the learning and the building and the setting up phase. So if you borrow that money, you're gonna be pressured. You're gonna be you'll feel like you have a very you have a responsibility to pay the bills back or pay the debt. But if you have saved enough money for starting your business, then you can think about how do I strategize, how do I start, how do I do this and that.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. So a couple of things that I got from what you were saying is, I think from the most recent one is, not borrowing from someone allows you to focus um, on the business itself, right? Like it doesn't put additional pressure on you to grow. Instead, you can focus on maybe the quality of the business, the
Yeah,
quality of
yeah.
the quality of life for employees, just making the business as good as possible,
Mhm.
without having to worry about cutting costs or revenue
Yeah,
or
exactly.
margins and all that stuff. Yeah, and then the other thing is I have my journal open, so it's right here. I have a
Wow.
journal, and one of the things that I have here is, and I always read this every day: the rich are not rich because they look rich, but rather because they possess the skills and strategies of the rich, which is essentially like what you've said, where you need to be able to learn how to manage your money, right? Like the millionaires know how to manage money. The lottery winners, um, I saw that statistic actually. I think it's about 60 to 70% of lottery winners go back to being broke
Yeah.
in a year or 2 years after they win. And then inversely, right? Like if you take away, like if you take a billionaire or a millionaire, someone who's made it, someone a self-made millionaire, you take away their business, bring them back to zero. In just a few years, they'll be right back at the top, right? It's
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
because it's not because anyone gave them. No one gave them what they have. They had to work for it. They had to learn, and they had to create value for other people, and that's how they became who they were. And then, so even if you take that away, they can just create something new and be right back where they were, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely amazing stuff. And a lot of the folks too that I've talked to start out that way. So for someone that's right now, maybe if we say the first step is to overcome your emotional and mental roadblocks, your limiting beliefs, and they've done that. They're already past that step and are now in the process of thinking about how to finance the business that they're doing. What would you recommend should be the first steps? Is it to like spend a little bit of time to save some money, or something else?
Um, the way, of course, I can't speak for everyone, but the way I did it, um, is I also um, I run, of course, I have some savings and I have a job, or I have a freelance business at the time. And I, so I was essentially offering services to almost all clients I know. I was really hustling. I think there's really no shortcut to it. I was really hustling so bad, and I, one of the things that has helped me in the journey is to be able to know my worth. I was charging an amount that's not always normal in the Philippines, especially if you are charging overseas clients, because I just know what value I can bring to the table. And that helped me grew my money really fast. I dreaded the days that I was getting paid $3 an hour when I started, because apart from being able to, apart from it being a reason for me to look for other clients and then sacrificing my time, because as a service-based business you're going to be capped by the hours of, availability, or the
Right.
hours of work, right? So I had to think of ways where I can essentially work at what, 4 hours per day, but then earn this amount of money. And I had
Mm,
to, when I started, I was just a general virtual assistant, and then I worked as a freelance copywriter. So I had to upgrade that skill as well. Um, I think that's really what helped me. And then set aside the money, and then that's how I started the business. And while I was in the business, it was important that you understand basic accounting. Um, I really hate numbers, to be honest. Um, and then for so many months, I was ignoring the math side, the number side of the business, and it cost me a lot in terms of not being able to make proper decisions. It didn't come to a point where someone stole money from me, but a lot of decision making could have been easier if I understood the very math of the business side. And I had to hire accountants to be able to explain things to me. But one time when I asked, when he sent me the report and I was looking at the profit loss, we can clearly see that we are profitable, but I told him, where's the money then, because I don't see that in the bank. And he just, I don't know, is that a laugh or a sarcastic smile whatsoever? But I felt offended. And I told myself that day, I'm going to really need to learn how to understand these numbers, because I don't want to be that person again asking irrelevant stuff, and not really understanding my business.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the data and being able to understand the math or the science behind the data will allow you to be a better driver, so to speak, right? Just because without that, it's like you're driving blind, or it's hard to steer the ship without
Oh
your
yeah,
navigation, right?
true.
Um, so yeah, absolutely awesome. Let's see. So was it your choice? I remember this from our conversation earlier today, but could you describe for us how you landed on the business that you chose, right? So you have obviously a very successful BPO company. How did you make that decision to pursue that line of business in that industry and those particular clients, and to get where you are today?
Wow, great question. It's funny, really, because everyone is saying, follow your passion, and I would say that advice is really a crap. Because if I followed my passion, I would be just building a dance studio or a music studio, really. And and there was a very helpful exercise. So in this exercise, I was asked to list down my positive traits. Okay, so I listed them down, and then on the other side of the column, I was asked to list down my strengths. So, and then upon looking at those characteristics, I knew there was something in there that somehow matched and complemented each other, because I wrote down I love communicating with people, and my expertise is really in linguistics. In fact, in college, I was about to take linguistics instead of nursing. So I said, what could be a business that I could put up where I can communicate with people? And then I said, maybe BPO is one. But there could be some other things. Maybe I could be a DJ or something like that. And
Yeah.
really, really, BPO is at the bottom of the list because I knew that it's going to be very, very difficult. But I guess it's things as they happen around me. It's like falling into place. I guess when you set your mind onto the goal, and I would, and to be honest, I would imagine myself speaking with a lot of people, and that already happened. So again, it's you attracting those things into your life.
Yep.
And I said and I said, yeah, oh, so this is exactly what I'm getting myself into, the BPO, because then I have a background with virtual assistants and speaking with clients, so maybe this is the right path. And then now the next question is this really the path for me? That's
Validating that you're
yeah,
on the
that's
right
that's
track. Yeah.
exactly. And I realized, you know what, I realized that when you are starting your business, you just have no way of validating it at the very early stage, but to commit to it, when you commit yourself to it, then you're gonna make results. Because one of the things that I've also learned here is, while I was in the journey, I can see other people, oh, I'm into e-commerce, I'm getting this much of money. Oh, I'm into, tech startups, I'm getting this much of investment. And I was looking left and right, maybe BPO is not for me. Maybe I would try e-commerce. And then now I got shaken. I got now I lost my goal. I lost my track. And I realized that if you just stick and stay committed to that journey, to that path, then no matter what you see, the shiny object syndrome that you see around you, they're not going to make sense, because now you have put your heart and mind into it, and you become successful eventually.
Is there something? Well, first of all, the law of attraction is real and it's everywhere. Absolutely believe in that. Like, if you put your mind to something and you visualize it and really just zone in, it's definitely gonna happen. And then the other thing too is, it sounds like you not so much as you. It's not so much as you followed your passion, more as you followed your own personal attributes, right? Like the stuff that
Correct.
really
Yeah,
interests you, so that
that's true.
yeah, because like for me, my passion is basketball, but I don't have the height to take it at the next level. So it's just a hobby for me, but I'm very passionate about it. But similar to you, I actually like communicating with others. Really, I love communicating with others, especially when I'm coaching someone or like explaining things to someone who may not understand the concept behind what it is. It makes it easier. I enjoy breaking down complex ideas and breaking it down to simple terms so that it's easier to understand for people. That's stuff that I really enjoy, because that practice of breaking it down helps my mind, and at the same time it helps that other person with the situation. um so I think my next question would be related to what you said, is how do you stay committed? Like, what do you think of, or what keeps you committed despite all of the things that are happening that are pulling you in different directions, right? Like, and you're right. If it happens, if you're on a path and suddenly you're starting to have doubts and you have other people displaying their stuff on social media, you kind of get pulled into that. How do you stay the course despite all of the doubts that are in your mind at the moment?
it's easier said than done to just
Yeah,
stay,
definitely.
to really just commit yourself into it. But really you have to also understand your biggest or deepest why are you doing this. And apart from my family, and really having a really decent lifestyle, I would want to also be able to give jobs to the people around me. And especially we are here in Bulacan, I want to be able to give back to my community. Um, Apart from that, there's part of me that I always love challenges, and whenever I'm hit by roadblocks, I felt like I really need to get over that roadblock. I felt the need to do that for some reason, and it gives me a good feeling, like endorphins, whenever I
Yeah,
get over those things in my life. Um, so yeah,
it's a
that's
confidence
yeah.
booster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
so I think one of the things that I struggled with before was that because I'm an overthinker, I tend to overthink a lot of things, right? Like I always try to take as much information as I can about a certain subject, especially if it's a difficult decision. And sometimes that hurts me, like analysis paralysis
Oh
or
gosh,
whatever.
you and I both, we are. Mhm.
So and that sometimes gives me doubt. Like, right, am I in the right direction? Especially, I don't know if you experience like in the first few years of your Telework.PH, if you're ever in the red. But if ever you are in the red, right? Like in a situation like that, how do you convince yourself that this is the right path, right? This is the right path, despite it being hard right now. It may not seem like it. This is the right path, and I'm sure everyone in your company is looking to you to provide that confidence to everyone, right? So how do you keep that, and how do you manage that?
Gosh, this is so hard to answer really. It's when I look back, when I was listening to your question, and then when I look back, I've had a lot of times where I felt like, is this the right path? Maybe, this is going to be a blunder. Is this the right decision? Maybe this is, I guess one of the things that I've done as well is to really trust my instinct. I'm an INFP, and I guess I've really mastered how to really understand things by just feeling them. But apart from that, now as the company is getting bigger, I have people around me who acted like, a council. They are the directors in the company. But one of the things I'm really proud of is I've hired people who are better than me, and these people have helped me with decision making. And apart from that, we also have data to back it up. But initially in the beginning, really, you have to, it's all about you. And sometimes you
Yeah,
ask people around you, do you think is this is the right thing to do? But at the end of the day, it's going to be your decision, and whether you chose a bad decision or a good decision, don't
sure,
feel don't
accountability.
right, and don't ever feel like, oh, I did a bad decision this time. But it's a learning, it's part of everything. And I remember this picture. There's a block of good decision, and there's a block of bad decision, and what success really is made up of is that these are building blocks that put together, for you, so you can learn from it. um, Take it as, something to get you to the next level.
Got it. Yeah. So like I think one takeaway I would say is when you're at the top, it can get really heavy, right? Just because there's so many lives depending on you, and but you can't be too hard on yourself, right? Like you have
Yeah,
to.
that's exactly what I want to say. Don't be hard on yourself. And sometimes really I do that. I beat myself because of decisions I've made. I should have done that. I should have done this. But really, whatever you choose, that's your decision. You respect it because you made it. And moving forward, you know what to do, in whenever that happens again.
You just have to be you just have to be aware that you are going to make mistakes. And when those mistakes happen, most of the
Mhm.
time, it's not make or break. And those mistakes can be an opportunity, like the building blocks that you mentioned, an opportunity for you to become a better leader, take yourself to a higher level, and everyone else with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. And
absolutely.
Marie Forleo said everything is figure outable. Don't be scared. Everything, and that's true. And that's true. You know what? We've had issues with the labor department because a couple of agents, no, not a couple. There was an agent that had complained we didn't have a nurse at that time, and I was so scared because look, you're talking with Dole, right? And we've heard a lot of stories about BPO agents complaining with Dole and all that. But as long as you are going to learn from that experience and you tell Dole that, hey, we've learned from this, we're gonna hire a new nurse now, it's problem solved. Sometimes we just
Yeah,
overcomplicate things.
yeah. I sometimes overreact too, and it sometimes like meditation helps a lot in being able to put things into perspective. But there have been times where sometimes we make mountains out of molehills, and
Oh
it kind
yeah.
of takes over your entire day where you can't think of anything else, and it just you just have to be able to take a step back and put things into like perspective, look at it from the big picture, right? Big picture
Right.
perspective. Yeah, I think we're coming really close to the end now. Just maybe three or four more questions before we close. Um, so the next question is describe for us what it was like on day one of your journey. I mean, I guess first of all, what would you consider day one of the journey? Was it that day that you made the decision, or the day where you overcame the emotional slash mental roadblocks, or was it the first day when the business was already operational? And kind of like just paint a picture for our listeners to just to kind of inspire them and really make them feel excited to, start on their first day.
Wow, I'm not sure if they're going to be excited with it, but so yeah, this is the day that I've made my decision. So I remember, um, so remember when the client told us that you gotta build a facility or you all lose your jobs, and I chose building a facility and
Right.
and still continuing the job. After that, as my biz dev would describe, I I cannot be found, just like Jack Ma. So I went on a sabbatical. I went on
Okay.
a sabbatical because I don't know what to do next. I really don't know. And so we went, my husband and I, we went to my new partner. We went to their place in Negros. So there is like a mountain area there. And I just have to, let it all out. And his cousin was there, and his cousin owns a digital marketing agency in Cebu. And so we just got into a conversation. Initially we didn't have, he's now one of the co-founders. So initially we
Wow.
didn't, yeah, we didn't have any intent of putting, the three of us into this business. I was just sharing what's happening. I was just sharing what I'm getting into. And I was in the middle of a negotiation at that time. I was in the middle of a contract negotiation. And so at that time, I made my decision. And I'm sorry, what was your question again?
Like what was day one for you? What
What
was
was
it
day one
like
for
when,
me?
yeah, day one for you, you said was the day you made that decision, right? Like so when you made that decision, like describe for our listeners what it really felt like. Did it empower you? Were you scared but excited at the same
Oh,
time?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what was it like?
My day one was about fears about what's going to happen to me in the next few years. And the very first thing I remember doing was crying to my husband and asking for help. So I told him, "You gotta help me here because I'm so scared." I've got I've got 2.5 million in the bank, and I'm going to put that all into the business. I could have just bought something like SUV, something like that. I would be more comfortable doing that. But look, I am putting that all that money that I worked hard for the last 4 or 5 years, and putting that into a business that I'm not even sure if it's gonna work. So I
Yeah.
told him, "No, I'm so scared. I needed help." And so when I went to the sabbatical and talked with with his cousin, we then were able to come up with a plan on how. And I'm very, very happy that people around me are very, willing, so much willing to help. They didn't even ask what they're gonna get out of it. They didn't even ask how much their salary is going to be. And those are the type of people you want to be as co-founders. They
Yeah.
want to be as invested as you. So that's how my day one was like.
That's amazing. You're very blessed to have people like that around you. That's not always present in certain situations, but you are very blessed to have found your co-founders and been able to help you. So I guess they were your support structure through the first few days, first few months, maybe first few years. And it's funny, like sometimes opportunity finds sometimes you find opportunity,
Yeah.
but in your case,
My
opportunity found
life forced
you
me.
and gave
Yeah.
you an ultimatum.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
I think you made the right decision. Obviously, looking back, it was definitely the right decision, and I'm sure years from now it will still turn out to be the right decision. So my last two questions. The first one is there anything that you regret that doing in your first few years, or especially around the years where you haven't made that decision yet? And because knowing what you know now, I'm sure you're a lot more wiser, a lot more experienced, a lot more knowledgeable. Is there anything that you regret that you wish you could have done when you were just starting out? Which is something that our listeners could actually learn from and maybe avoid in the future if there was anything. If there's nothing, it's completely okay.
You know what? To be honest, I don't have any regrets in the past, because I could say I regretted having a boyfriend at 19 and getting pregnant at that time, but really it helped me a lot to grow into that person I didn't even think I would become. The rock bottom moment was the transformation that I needed, because to be honest, when I was still working in the BPO, I was one of those who would drink until the morning. Really, I didn't care about what's ahead of me, as long as I have as long as I am getting paid and all that. But that rock bottom moment, that really pushed me to, you know what, Marge, you're bound to something, and you're bound for something else. You need to explore that. You need to be beyond that, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I was listening to a podcast today, and the most interesting people, the guest on that podcast was saying that really the most interesting people, the highest quality of people that you want to surround in your life are those that have gone through great adversity and have overcome them, because we're really who we are today, like right now at this very moment, is the summation of all of our experiences in the past, right? And who we are going to be in the future is also going to be a summation of what we do right now. So I think that's really, really powerful. And I'm glad that you don't have any regrets, because, it's a journey, and you learn and you make mistakes and you keep learning, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my last question: what advice would you give to those people that are listening right now, and we're at that situation where they've hit rock bottom, and they're not sure what to do? They're thinking about starting a business. What do you want to say to all of those people that are going through that right now?
um just do it. I mean, uh, to there could be a lot of things going in your head right now, and that's going to overcomplicate things, and you want to be able to research as much information and gather as much courses, because believe me, I've done that. I've listened to a ton of podcasts, enrolled myself into a lot of membership, and I lost a lot of money. But you know what? I did nothing really. I when you learn, that's one thing, but as you learn, you take action, because really what you know what I've been telling a lot of people, I'm a CEO, but I'm learning on the job, because I didn't take any masteral or business courses. I'm learning on the job and then applying it right away, because really what sets apart successful people from people who are just waiting for things to happen to them is action, taking action. So just do it, really. Just do it.
That's perfect advice, and that's really what this podcast is all about, right? Like maybe someone is on the verge of taking action, and they listen to this podcast, and they hear you talk about your experience, talk about what you went through, and that becomes the ignition or the driver, the one last push that they need to take action. And if that happens to even just one person, I'm very happy to have had this conversation with you today.
Yeah. Same here.
So Marge, thank you so much for your time. Is
Thank
there
you,
anything
John.
that our listeners? You're welcome. And is there anything that our listeners can do to support your company, support the work that you do? Maybe follow you somewhere on social media. Um,
Yes, sure. I mean, you can check out our FB page. It's Telework.PH. And if you know anyone who needs help with outsourcing, or probably someone who needs help with setting up their own businesses, I can help as well. And really, I'm not comfortable sharing this, but I just feel like I just wanted to help more people have more jobs in the Philippines. And so if you know anyone, a client maybe who is interested into outsourcing, you can contact us at www.teleworkph.com, and then we'll help your client.
awesome. We'll make sure to definitely do that. So you have a Facebook page, and you have the website www.telework.ph.
Yeah, we're actually all over social media. Just type in Telework.PH for YouTube, LinkedIn, and yeah, so you can follow us there.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marge. You're an inspiration to us all.
Thank you.
I am personally feeling very inspired right now, and I know a lot of people out there that are listening here will also be inspired by your experience. So thank you so much for sharing, and
Thank you so much.
good luck to you. I'm sure we're gonna meet again someday.
Yes, someday
Thank
for
you.
sure. Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone.
Thank you.